Hey guys, Coach Jason. I hope you're doing well. So I want to go into a little bit deeper, dive in a little bit deeper with regards to hill training and how it pertains to distance runners and how it pertains to middle distance runners. Okay, there are similarities between the two, but there are also some specific differences. Okay, and whether you're training for the 800 or the mile or both or the 3K, the 5K, half marathon, marathon, hill training is beneficial for everybody. Okay, and I want to just dive into some of the specific details in terms of how it'll benefit people training for the shorter events versus the longer events. And again, it benefits both sides, or both, long distance and middle distance to a certain degree with regards to certain things, but there are some specificity components that, and I'll show you when I bring over to the whiteboard in a minute, that make it a little bit more understandable and kind of relevant to training and race performance. And again, this applies to whether you're training for the track, cross country, the road, it doesn't matter. Hill training is a very vital component to training. It can be used as VO2 max training, okay, with a 1-to-1 ratio. And it can be used as strength training to build leg speed, leg power, stride efficiency, and it can be used as a lot of different things. Whether you're doing short, fast sprints up a steep hill or long gradual hills. Okay, they all have their own benefit, and it's important to understand the differences and the similarities between the two, which is why I want to go over this today. Because if you have a group that you're training for the half mile and the mile, there are certain types of hills that would really, really benefit them because it's specific to the type of training that they're doing. And on the same token, if you're training people for the half marathon, there are certain hills that have certain benefits for them too. And it's important to know what fits where and which one fits both, and so on. So let's go over to the whiteboard. Okay, I'm going to take you over here. I have it laid out here. All right. Get the specificity up. Okay, and I broke it down. Middle distance runners, distance runners. So let's go over the middle distance side first. Okay. By the way, before I do this, if you're a runner or a coach and you like extensively detailed running content, this channel is for you. So make sure you hit that subscribe button right now and hit the notification so you don't miss future videos. I already have almost 200 videos out, fully detailed training stuff, and it pertaining from the half mile, all the way up to the marathon. I have fully detailed training programs. I've got workouts galore. Everything you'd think of is probably on this channel. And I am speaking from 20 years experience as a coach. I was a former competitive runner at the high school, college, and post-collegiate level, but I have been a coach at all three levels for the past 2 decades, and I am a USATF certified coach. I'm also a Wharton certified musculoskeletal therapist and flexibility therapist, so I'm here to help you stay healthy and run fast, or faster. Okay, so let's get into this. All right. Middle distance runners, one of the things that it does, obviously, is it helps to improve leg power and leg speed. I already mentioned that before, but those are the types of things that you need for shorter races. I mean, let's say it's the half mile. It's probably the closest balance of almost 50 to 50 with regards to aerobic and anaerobic. Okay, looking at maybe a 55 to 45 ratio, but you need leg power. Those races go out fast, they finish fast, they stay fast, and leg power and leg speed is absolutely critical. And it's the same thing when you're running a mile. You need leg speed, okay? So that's number one. Number two, it helps make flat running easier, okay? Hills do make, and especially when you're running at a fast pace on the flats, hills do make flat running easier. And it's not sexy detail, but it's a very, very critical detail. And that's whether you're doing short hills, long hills, depending on what you're doing. Posture, obviously, is of utmost importance, too. Staying upright. If you're running uphill, leaning into the hill a little bit, using your arms, driving your knees up. And the same effect when you're going downhill, being perpendicular to the downhill. Instead of leaning back and using your body as a braking mechanism, actually let it go, but try to keep the same cadence as you do on the flat, the same running rhythm. And if you lean into the hill and stay perpendicular, it's going to take the stress off your knees, your lower back, your Achilles, okay? Because downhill running can be dangerous if you don't do it properly. And uphill can be much safer if you do it properly. So, again, it helps make flat running easier. It's also a phenomenal components for building overall fitness and conditioning, particularly if you're a beginner. And when I mean beginner, if you're a new runner, the first thing I recommend is building a base. And I'll go into a little bit more detail with that, but building a base of 6 to 8 or even 10 weeks of just basic running before you do any hill running is critical. Okay, critical. You can incorporate some strides and things like that over time, but I wouldn't engage in hill running until you have at least 6 weeks or 8 weeks of running, 10 weeks for some people, but 6 to 8 is a good number to be at, and then get yourself up to 4 or 5 days running per week before you start incorporating these things. All right. Again, it's great for building fitness overall and conditioning, and not only for beginners, for advanced athletes, intermediate athletes, everybody. It also helps to safely simulate anaerobic training in an alternative manner. And what does that mean? You're enjoying the same benefits as you do training on a track, but if you're going at a fast speed on a track, okay, at top speed, you can put yourself at risk for injury, whether it be hamstrings, calves, your hip flexors, your quads, or whatever. Hill running gives you the same effect, especially if you're running uphill at a quick, at a very fast pace, but the impact is lower. You're running a top speed effort, but you're not running at top speed. Okay, and again, it keeps you below top speed, where most of the running injuries occur, and most of them occur on the flat and sometimes on the downhill. So this is one of the most significant benefits. Again, of fast running, and a lot of 800-meter training, a lot of mile training is fast running. Even though there should be a multi-paced training system, I do encourage folks to train at 3K pace and 5K pace, and even slower than that, even if you're running for a half marathon, training for a half mile, excuse me. Okay, and even if you're training for longer races, doing shorter stuff as well, they all complement each other, and I talk about them in all my training videos. Take a look in the description; you'll see a bunch of them there, so you can see exactly what I'm talking about and how the training is laid out. Okay. I already mentioned build a base before you start hill training. Again, 6 to 8 weeks at a minimum of just steady running, incorporating strides after maybe 4 weeks, just some gentle strides, just to get the legs turning over a little bit. And then once you start getting to that point, one of the other things I encourage folks to do is to give yourself a 1 mile or perform a 1 mile time trial. See how fast you can run a mile, because then it'll help determine your current fitness. And having 6 to 8 or even 10 weeks gives you a more accurate reading of your fitness. Okay, and you can, once you establish your mile fitness, then you can start incorporating hill training and other things into your training as well. Okay, that'll give you an idea on how to progress, whether it be from 8 minutes down to 7, 7 to 6, 6 to 5, and so on. Okay, it'll give you an idea on how to train it, whether you're training at the right paces or not. And if you do, you're putting yourself in a position to succeed short term and long term and stay healthy. Okay, so again, building a base, and lastly, progressing from 5K race effort down to mile pace effort. So let's say you're running 8x200 or 8x200 on the uphill runs, decent grade and stuff like that. Again, and you jog down nice and slow. If you need to walk jog, you walk jog. Okay, let's just say that's a workout. You start at about 5K pace effort. You gradually get faster throughout the workout. Okay, but in a manner that's gradual for you or your athletes. Okay, so progression, not only in hills, progression in runs, progression in workouts, but these are important components for middle distance running. Again, a lot of middle distance running is fast running. So, and even if it's a short tempo followed by some speed, or short tempo followed by some hill sprints, that's a great way to incorporate hill running for middle distance runners, even distance runners too. But these are components here, okay? And I've got a bunch of other hill running workouts. I'll attach them in the description too, so you can take a look and get an idea of a bunch of different hill workouts that I incorporate with my athletes, middle distance and distance, okay? So now let's move over to the longer distances, okay? Again, hill running helps improve leg strength, particularly in your hamstrings in the longer races. One of the things, if you're running particularly a marathon, when your legs start to give out, or if you haven't done enough long runs or whatever it is, or just because it's a marathon, especially if it's a hilly marathon, once you start cramping up, it could be your calves, it could be your hamstrings, your quads, and running hills on a regular basis helps to simulate not only running uphill, but helps build the leg strength to kind of give you a little bit more of a fortress of protection to help mitigate or minimize things like that, okay? And also, if you're running a half marathon or a marathon, that's a rolling course, hill running helps you simulate that, and that's ideally what you want to do as often as you possibly can, okay? So not only does it make flat running easier, but it also makes hilly running easier if you're used to it, okay? Next, it helps make flat running easier. Again, that's one of the similarities between the two, flat running at faster paces, okay? It works in the middle distance runners, it works for long distance runners, okay? Again, it's great for building fitness, conditioning, okay? fat burning too, particularly in a marathon. Especially if you're, if you're a beginner marathoner, a lot of folks will train to lose weight, or understand that they will lose weight along the way if they're training for 12 to 16 weeks for a marathon. Weight loss is going to happen, and one of the benefits of hill running is that you're getting at such a high heart rate zone. It's truly anaerobic. It acts as like a HIIT workout. It acts as like an interval workout, like a circuit workout. So you're putting yourself in fat burning mode. And this is obviously after a warm up and before a cool down, so that the body's warmed up and cool and prepared properly. But the weight loss becomes a beneficial component too. Okay, particularly with beginners. Okay, and again, it serves as VO2 max, elevated heart rate, and so on. The VO2 max is important. I cannot emphasize it enough. Middle distance runners, a great VO2 max is living at 3K to 5K pace, okay, for a lot of the workouts. Even if you're doing a 2-week cycle, running something at 3K pace and 5K pace each throughout that cycle is important. Or even if it's a 4-week cycle, doing that pace, even if it's once every 2 weeks or whatever it is, a workout at 5K pace, a workout at 3K pace is critical to long-term development, okay? And then you do stuff at mile pace and 800-meter pace and 400-meter pace, but a multi-pace training system, that's kind of how it's laid out. VO2 max on the other end for marathoners could be 5 times a mile, okay, with almost a 1-to-1 recovery. So let's say you want to run 3:30 for the marathon, which is 8 minutes per mile. You do 5 times a mile in about 7 minutes to 7:10 with a 5-minute recovery, and so on. So that's VO2 max. Elevated heart rate happens naturally when you're running hills or when you're running rolling hills. So you get that component too, but it's a great conditioning tool either way. Okay. Again, it's a safer way to run fast and reduce the risk for injury. Fast uphill running is a lot less taxing on the body than fast running. Okay, particularly when you're running really, really fast. So keep that in mind too. It helps to build, and this is one, in my opinion, is important. It helps you build that tenacity and that mental fortitude that you need for longer races, especially with a marathon. When you get to 15, 18, 20 miles, it hurts, okay, especially if you're not used to it. And hill running helps to build the kind of gut-wrenching effort that you need a lot in a long race. So it's another added benefit, an ancillary benefit for training, okay? And again, the fitter you are, the more confident you're going to become, the more ready you're going to be to run those last 8 or 10 miles in a marathon better than the first time you ran it, and then better than the second time you ran it. And if your goal is just to finish, hill running is going to help you accomplish that goal too. Okay? And again, building a base before starting your hill training is absolutely important. Okay? Critical. Okay? And then progressing from 5K pace effort to mile pace effort. Again, another similarity with middle distance runners, progression in the hill riffs. So again, if you're here, let's say you're training for the marathon, and one of your workouts, you do a 5-mile tempo, then you take a 5-minute active recovery, and then you do 8 times 200-meter uphill, okay? That also helps to simulate turning over and running faster when you're already fatigued from a tempo, or you do 10 miles at marathon pace, and then some 100-meter uphill runs at the end. There's a lot of different variations you could do, okay? But progressing from 5K pace down to mile pace over time is very, very, it's not only intelligent, but it's a safe way to minimize injury, minimize, risking injury. So I hope you found this helpful. I mean, these are important components here. Again, there are similarities, there are differences. Take a look at what I have in the description down below. I have different types of hills that you could use to simulate workouts, cross-country courses. I have things called momentum hills, which are good things to do. Short hills, long hills, a whole bunch of different variations. And if I can emphasize one word today, it'd be simulate, simulate, simulate. Okay? Simulate the course you're going to run as often as you possibly can. Okay? So, hope you enjoyed this. Again, keep an eye out for my next video. Thanks so much for watching. Talk to you next time.